Hey, I'm Steven with Create a Great State and Grow Missouri, and we're here in Bolivar, Missouri today, right down on the square, and we're talking to people and asking them what ideas they have to help create a great state. We're going to take these ideas to the legislature, and so share your thoughts, share your opinions. We want to hear them. Let's go see what people have to say. Hey, I'm Steven with Create a Great State and Grow Missouri, and we're here in Bolivar, Missouri on the town square. Talking to Nick today. Nick, thanks for taking a minute
Yeah, no problem.
and talking with us. We sure appreciate it. I know it's cold out, but so we've been traveling all around the state for the last 2.5 months and talking to people and just trying to get their ideas and their thoughts on what we can do in our state to create a great state, create a Missouri that's a better place to work, live, and raise a family or start a business and all those sorts of things. And so we'd like to hear your thoughts, your opinions on what we could do to achieve that. What do you think?
I think the big thing that a lot of people lose sight of is that our representatives that we elect and that we send off to Congress and even the House and even our presidential figures are very focused on the rest of the world, and they're focused on the diplomacy and the politics that are going on in the rest of the country and not really focused on Missouri. So for instance, for the past 3 or 4 years, Jay Nixon's been focusing on trying to get trade deals with China between Missouri and the Guangdong province over there. And it sounds good on paper, but a lot of the times it's actually going to be toxic to the businesses that people in Missouri are trying to start because they're getting undersold by a lot of the firms that are over in foreign bodies. So even though it's helpful on the national level and even broadly speaking for Missouri as a whole, it really hurts the people that live here.
Wow. Yeah, I think that would be great. Now, you kind of jumped ahead of a question that we've kind of been asking people, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that. The election, of course, is just barely in our rearview mirror. We voted, I guess, like 2 weeks ago, and so we've been asking people, like, since then, when you go into the voting booth, when you go on, and you're checking the boxes on who you're going to elect into office. What are some things that are echoing around in your mind that you're thinking of when you're deciding who you're going to vote for?
I guess the big thing for me is that I don't really come down Republican or Democrat. It doesn't really matter very much to me.
Mm-hmm.
What I more care about is whether or not the people are trying to make a name for themselves nationally or whether they're trying to make a name for themselves in the community that I live in. And so when I see a lot of politicians go out, Troy McCaskill and Roy Blunt are both guilty of it, trying to make a name for themselves in Congress in Washington, D.C. rather than in Missouri. And then that kind of shows in a lot of the policies that they're trying to put forward. And so that's probably the first thing that I look at and then work from their policies there.
Okay. Now, you've kind of hit on policy a couple different times, and specifically some things with economic policy. What are maybe some ideas, some good economic policy that you think we could enact and find leaders to kind of champion you think would be good for Missouri?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot of bipartisan support to try and put in some protections for Missouri businesses and hope that they don't get undersold by other countries, other states. Representative Billy Long from this district is trying to support the Enforce Act, which is an attempt to try and prevent Missouri business leaders and farmers from being undersold by Chinese firms. But the bill itself isn't very good. It doesn't do very many things, and it's actually really damaging to a lot of businesses. But you go to St. Louis and you have a lot of support from Mayor Clay and a lot of the representatives in that district trying to do the same thing, but they just can't agree on how to do it. And so I think there's a lot of sway to try to enact those types of things if we can just come together and come up with a bill.
Yeah.
So
yeah, maybe the heart's in the right place, but that doesn't always always actually help very much. So yeah, I totally understand that.